because this is what it is. Hi guys, this is Connie. It is May 18th, 2020. 2020? 2020? I'm not exactly sure how that's supposed to go, but you can tell that I've cared very much about lots of things because the frizz is still there. I really cared. I probably would have either brushed it, re-braided it, or pulled it back further where it couldn't be seen. We are currently enjoying, it's just past 11:30 in the morning here in Northern Virginia. Please don't touch the TV screen. You can see just fine. You look with your eyes. We're not touching it with our hands, okay? You've got lots of toys to play with, all right, kiddo? TV's not a toy. So I decided, since we've been a bit on a pasta kick recently, we've been doing lots of noodles last week, we're going to be doing rice this week. So this is one of several iterations of rice. I took some rice and I added some ketchup and cheese. I don't think I've actually added that combination together before, but it is very tasty. I did my default for hashtag baby bear try on, aka our Ivy bear. Still have rice in my mouth. My default is usually rice, a pat of butter, and some soy sauce, and you mix that all together and it's just, it's very, very good. I was originally getting on here to start a craft that I have been dying to start for a while, but because of life and mild low-grade depression thanks to the pandemic, and continued on by the pandemic, I just kind of kept collecting materials and not actually following through with them. So what I'm going to do is make some, I guess it's called plastic yarn or plarn. And what you basically do is you take plastic bags you have around your house. For this one particularly, this is just a generic double breaded bag that you pick up at Costco. So this will be the first one, and it doesn't have any brands on it, so that's always great. But I didn't realize how large, it's probably got air in there, but how large of a container had accumulated over the last few months. Most of that is bread wrappers. So part of me was like, I saw a couple of places, I keep tucking them in places. I don't have a set spot for those materials when they collect. Like, you collect your recycling, you collect, certain things are in their places and spaces, and there was no place I have designated specifically for plastic yarn materials. So I collected most of them together in the kitchen that I had seen. Oh, I'm sorry. What you're not seeing off camera is a pile. I was telling a friend of mine yesterday, I've accumulated a small pile of craft crap. There's like a small mountain of craft crap that I meant to do because I thought that Mustachio, my husband, you find him in various social media forums through my post via the hashtag Mustachio quotes, because doesn't like to speak a lot, but when he does speak, it's very profound. So he's Mustachio quotes, obviously. And excuse me. Once the pandemic started, I kind of was under the assumption that he might get sent home or be able to work from home, which doesn't really work when you have a toddler. Also, for posterity's sake, because that's kind of what this video is going to be when it goes up. Not just a project, but just a time capsule of what this whole season of life has felt like, at least for us. And Ivy turned 3 years old in quarantine, and the way it's looking right now, there's a good possibility I'm going to have a birthday in quarantine. My birthday's at the beginning of July, and it's currently May. And based on just the general understanding that I have, be it very limited, and because we don't have a desperate necessity to continue being out in public, now that things are slowly starting to open up, there's a very good possibility that I'm going to just spend my birthday in quarantine, because there's going to be, is it resurgence? Is it an uptick? I don't know the appropriate lingo, but the only thing that we know to do with COVID-19, the coronavirus, is to stay at home, wash your hands, and practice good respiratory hygiene. The biggest issue is when you have to cough or sneeze, you're either coughing into your hand or your elbow or into a handkerchief or a tissue of sorts, and you're throwing it away, or you're washing your hands, because it's a respiratory issue and it gets past respiratory droplets, not in the air. It doesn't stay in the air very long because it's way too heavy for that. But when it falls on something or you touch it here, the idea is to not touch it on various orifices of your face and hands and anything else that could potentially be infected. I started picking at my cuticles and started to realize like how important it was to keep those things covered so that there's no further infection. But that's another entryway for various pathogens to enter me. Oh! Getting distracted. Based on our limited knowledge of what COVID-19 is and how to avoid getting it or getting it later, like the pessimistic side of me says that it's not a matter of if we get the virus, it's a matter of when we get the virus. And when we get it is vitally important, because right now, for people who aren't taking it so serious that or don't have the ability to shelter in place and they're not doing proper precautions of washing your hands, cleaning surfaces on a regular basis, basically assuming, like, instead of the kids' version of the floor is lava, you just have to assume that everything is raw chicken. So obviously you're not going to want to rub raw chicken on your face or keep it on your hands. You're going to want to wash it off as often as possible. Have a disinfectant of some sort so that you can minimize the spread of such germs. And based on that knowledge, and based on where we are as far as how our household has been kept, and it's all thanks to God, because we've been so incredibly fortunate to be able to live first off a one-person income. I haven't had to go to work. I probably should do some form of work besides stay-at-home motherdom, which is kind of why I'm doing these videos. I do these videos for free because I enjoy putting something out there. Apparently reading books on the internet is a big thing, which is what most of this channel is. You'll see various forms of Connie Reads videos. So I'm folding it. I'm folding the bag in a way that long ways I'm gonna have little plastic loops come out of it. And with bread bags, there's only so much of it that you can salvage, because sometimes they have holes or they have folded creases that are made into the bag. I couldn't find my good scissors, which makes me really sad, but these scissors will do. But you cut straight lines. You can cut them anywhere from about this length or a little bit smaller if you really want to do something overly fanciful. You can make it a little thinner like this, but this won't work because of all the folds and creases in it. So that's not going to be a part of it. But I clipped off that one end. The rest of this is pretty salvageable, and then we have more extra slack at the end. All that junk. And we're gonna cut that off too. So, but basically, because we are not essential workers, although Mustachio has a job that is considered essential, and they've now set certain standards in his place of work where he doesn't come into contact. He wasn't previously, like pre-COVID-19, wasn't really in a working arrangement where he spent a lot of contact with people. They would have a lot of face-to-face meetings. He has a cubicle and people would enter his cubicle space, etc. But it wasn't a high risk traffic situation for which COVID could spread. But from what I've been told, based on again, I don't know a lot about Mustachio's job, and I don't really need to know a lot about Mustachio's job, but I know enough to know that apparently they've had 2 confirmed cases of workers who have tested positive for COVID-19. It's been over a month now. I'll have to look at. The biggest issue I have right now is that I'm not keeping clear records. I'm not journaling every day. I'm not writing a lot of things down. This is probably as close as it gets, and I haven't been doing video diaries every day either, because some days are better than others. It's a Monday. I usually shine on Mondays, and today has been one of the first Mondays in a really long time where I have just been on it. To be as productive as we have been today and have it not be the middle of the afternoon, it's not even noon time yet technically, means that we've had a really fantastically productive day. It makes me really, really happy. You know, we've started a load of laundry. I've cooked food. I still have some food cooking on the stove, which, as a warning, if you leave things running on your stove, you leave the possibility of things to get burned. I probably could address that in a Cooking Connie video. Connie Cooks, Cooking with Connie, I don't know. Nothing's original. I'm sure there's 15 other videos like that out there that have nothing to do with me personally as Connie. But I left it on low heat because I've learned if you keep it on high, it's gonna burn. And in the frame of mind that I'm in right now, life with a toddler, I'm always looking away to see what she's doing, to see what she's engaging in, to see what she's playing with. Even though she's in the other room and it's pretty open and I can still see things, it takes my attention away from the stove. So I always, usually, unless I know I have a solid like 15 to 30 minutes to myself in the daylight hours to cook, I might do it on a higher temperature. Not so the case right now, but we cooked some rice. We've cooked up some Spam because Spam is one of those great go-to pantry staples when you're in any kind of a jam. And I know I know a lot of people have very strong opinions one way or the other to Spam. It's good. I like it no matter how it's prepared. Most of the people that I prepare it for prefer to have it deep fried and pan fried, so we pan fry our Spam and make sure it's extra crispy. So good. But I did want to do a project because I have Connie's mountain of project off camera and it needs to be done. So you take it to about 1 inch and you cut, usually with much sharper scissors. I didn't want to use these scissors because for some reason your poor little scissor self are not as sharp. Not the sharpest scissors in my box, which is just sad because you work slowly and everything else is moving slowly in my life. So part of me is like, this is one thing I would rather not move slowly. So once it's unraveled, notice you now have this wonderful line of plastic. And if you've ever done arts and crafts or any kind of like looping situation, you're gonna be able to pick up very quickly what comes next. Because what comes next is we make a loop, and the loop continues. You keep adding a loop or a chain to each piece of circular plastic you have. I'm not gonna do it at the seams. I don't worry about it looking pretty, although I'm sure that there are more professional crafters out there who will find ways to fold it or roll it or find ways to make this look more aesthetically pleasing. I just want it to be functional and I want it to work, but I will try my best when we have those seams to line up the seams. And since it's a circle, you have a loop and you have another loop, and you can do this in a varied amount of ways, but you loop one into the other. Notice you have this extra loop that's been created, and you want to pull that through so that it creates a figure 8 of sorts together. I don't know if I'm showing that in a way that makes it easy for you to understand what's happening, but when you pull it nice and tight, it now connects. And that is how you start your plastic yarn. I have several balls of this sitting around because what I had done and what the dream is at some point, and there are various resources you can use for things you can make with this, but the first thing I saw was a woman at the gym crocheted a pool bag using only the plastic bits from her newspaper. She would still get the Washington Post, and it always came in this beautiful like slate gray plastic, and I never thought anything of those plastic bits. But the more aware I am of like plastic waste and hearing that like in so many years there's going to be more plastic in the water than fish, which seems ridiculous, very difficult to wrap my mind around. You try to start looking at ways that you can more than just recycle, like more than just making sure that your plastics are being recycled, that other things are being recycled, to reduce and reuse. It's one of the best ways I've seen to reduce plastic that you already have in your house. Like, my favorite thing is I would make a couple of grocery bags out of this. So there's so many, the possibilities are endless when you learn how to either like knit or crochet things from this material, because it's very strong, it's very sturdy, and it's not going into a landfill, and it's something that you're going to be able to use. I've been able to gift bags to people, and because I don't follow a pattern, they come in various shapes and sizes over the years, and I've used them, I've gifted them. Like, it's just been really nice that you can turn it into something that is beautiful, that's not going to go into the trash. You get to turn trash into something fantastic. It turns into art. But basically, once you've started looping these things together, you then find a way to wrap them, roll them, so that you can better use more of your plastic yarn together. And you'll just take it when you start it, and however you start your craft projects, you just assume that one empty loop is the end of your yarn, plastic yarn, however, whichever, whatever, and go to town on it. Yes, so that was the long-winded version of an update, and something I'm hoping to work through very soon, because I have a lot of plastic, and sit down and watch TV with my daughter, and hopefully have something to do with my hands that isn't grazing on potato chips, but more something that I can gift and use and reduce, reuse, and recycle. Yeah. So how is your quarantine going? How is the pandemic treating you? I know we've been incredibly fortunate. Definitely processed a lot of like sadness. I feel like there's like a season of mourning, and by mourning I mean we haven't had a personal loss ourselves, but just the loss of the normalcy of what life was before we had this shutdown. And I hope that you're doing well. I hope that if you need help, you seek help. Pistachio had to tell me multiple times to reach out and call people and talk to people, and just, I mean, it doesn't even have to be a professional help. It doesn't need to be a professional talk, although I'm sure seeing a therapist would be a fantastic idea. But just keeping in touch with family and friends and connecting and just talking about nothing has been an incredible help for me making these videos, be it 20 minutes long. Oh my goodness. Have been a lot of help. I know getting back to potentially reading on camera will be a huge help because I love to read out loud. I don't take a lot of time off camera to read, so it's a lot of fun and very beneficial, and I still get comments to this day from videos I've done years ago, from playlists of books that people are listening to now, and it makes me happy to know that there's like a timeless bit of contribution I've made to the internet that isn't something overly risque or wrong or overly fantastical, but it's just something that's been very helpful and useful and makes people happy. So that in turn makes me happy because it's a small legacy, and who doesn't want to leave a decent and happy long legacy? So thank you for letting me spend 20 plus minutes of time with you. If you decide to make some plastic yarn or start creating something, let me know. My favorite social media is Instagram, at Connie Tryon on most social media things. I'd love to see what you do. Feel free to tag me in some stuff. Leave a comment if you want to. And be careful with that and enjoy, please and thank you. And hopefully, I'm either going to start uploading the various diaries one way or another that I've been slowly making. It's just been word vomit on camera, or I'm actually going to start reading some more books, which would be fantastic. It's just a matter of finding. I don't have a set schedule and have not given myself any kind of rigid structure, which I probably could benefit from, but I've also learned that it's important to be flexible as well. So finding that balance, slowly coming back as the world starts adapting, and hopefully coming back to a new type of normal, which is what I'm sure we're all hoping for very, very soon. So I will talk to you later. How frizzy is your hair? Have you fallen victim to a quarantine haircut? Because I have not. I really like my long hair. As frustrating as it can be, I can always pull it back and keep it out of my sight. I love what it looks like when I do have long hair. Is there some weird quarantine thing that you've done? Let me know. And I will talk to you later. Have a great day.